Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Golden. If you are joining us for the first time, God bless you. The cries of a newborn echoed through the small hut as Adako lay weak and exhausted on the mat. The village midwife, an elderly woman named Mama Ose, wrapped the tiny baby in a warm cloth and handed her to Adako. "It's a girl," Mama Ose said, smiling warmly. "A beautiful one." Adako weakly lifted her head to look at her baby, but the joy that should have filled her heart was absent. Something was wrong. The baby wasn't looking at her. She wasn't responding to movements. She gently waved her hand in front of the child's face, then sighed deeply. She does not see," Mama Ose said. Adako's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" "Your daughter is blind." Adako felt the air leave her lungs. She stared at the baby in her arms, her tiny face innocent, her hands moving aimlessly. A heavy silence filled the hut. Outside, the village women waited, eager to hear the news, but Adako could already hear the whispers that would spread like wildfire. A cursed child, a bad omen. Who will marry a blind girl? She will bring suffering to her mother. Adako clenched her teeth, her body trembling with fear. The father of the baby had died months ago. Now she was alone, and the world was about to turn its back on her. That night, as the baby cried softly beside her, Adako made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. The moon was high in the sky as Adako walked through the thick forest, her heart pounding with every step. The sound of crickets and distant howls filled the air, but she kept moving. In her arms, the tiny baby whimpered. Adako stopped near an old tree, looking around as if hoping someone would stop her, but no one was there, only the shadow of the night. Tears streamed down her face as she knelt and placed the baby on a soft patch of grass. "I am sorry," she whispered, choking on her own words. I can't do this." She turned away, squeezing her eyes shut. The baby's cry grew louder. Adako's feet felt like stone, refusing to move. "Just walk away," she told herself. "Someone will find her. Someone will take care of her." But deep inside, she knew the truth. No one came to this part of the forest. With one last look at her daughter, Adako ran. She ran without looking back. Alright guys, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Turn your post notifications so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. Click on the like button to give this video a thumbs up. And please share with your friends and your family. Thank you so much. God bless you. Alright, let's continue. She ran, leaving behind the one soul that needed her the most. The baby's cries pierced through the silence of the forest, echoing in the night. Somewhere nearby, a man on horseback slowed down. Dr. Kelechi was on his way from a village where he had treated sick children. He was tired, but the sound of a crying child stopped him in his tracks. He listened for a moment, then turned his horse towards the sound. As he reached a large tree, he spotted something on the ground, a tiny bundle wrapped in cloth. His heart clenched. He jumped off his horse and hurried forward, gently picking up the baby. His experienced hands recognized weakness and hunger. "Who would have left you here, little one?" he whispered, rocking her gently. The baby stopped crying for a moment as if sensing kindness. Dr. Kelechi sighed deeply. He couldn't leave her here. He couldn't ignore the call of faith. Holding the baby close, he climbed back onto his horse and rode into the night. Dr. Kelechi arrived home just before dawn. His wife Chinwe sat by the fire, waiting for him. The moment she saw the baby in his arms, her eyes widened. Kelechi, whose baby is this? She asked, rushing towards him. He sighed, shaking his head. She was abandoned in the forest. Someone left her to die. Chinwe gasped, placing a hand over her mouth. Kelechi gently placed the baby in Chinwe's arms. She needs us. Chinwe looked down at the tiny face, her heart melting. She's beautiful. Kelechi smiled. I want to call her Amara because, despite everything, she has survived. Tears filled Chinwe's eyes. Amara, Grace, she whispered. She will bring light into our lives. That night, Amara slept in a warm home surrounded by love. Years passed, and Amara grew up under the love and care of Dr. Kelechi and Chinwe. Though she was blind, she never let it define her. She learned to use her hands and to feel the world. Her ears to hear what others ignored, and her heart to understand what sight could not show. One morning, Chinwe called her. Amara, my daughter, come inside. Amara turned her head towards the sound, smiling brightly. She had memorized every part of the house and walked confidently inside. You called, Mama? She asked, feeling for Chinwe's hands. Chinwe held her tiny fingers, squeezing them gently. I have something for you. She placed a small wooden flute in Amara's hand. I want you to learn how to play this. Amara felt the smooth wood. Curiosity lightened up her face. Music! Yes, Chinwe said. Music can be seen with the heart, not just the eyes. That day, Amara sat outside, pressing the flute to her lips. At first, the sounds were broken and sharp, but as the days passed, she learned. Soon, the sweet sound of her flute floated through the air, touching the hearts of everyone who listened. One evening, as Dr. Kelechi watched Amara play, a thought crossed his mind. What if she can see? He had treated many patients, but Amara's blindness was something he had never fully examined. That night, he spent hours reading old medical books, searching for answers. The next day, he took Amara to his clinic and conducted several tests. His hands shook as he went through the result. There is hope, he whispered. Amara's blindness wasn't permanent. A surgery could restore her sight. But the surgery was expensive. Still, Dr. Kelechi made a decision. No matter what, he would find a way to give Amara the gift of sight, even if it took everything he had. Dr. Kelechi sat in his office, lost in thought. The weight of the past weeks rested heavily on him. Margaret, no. Adako had returned, pleading for forgiveness. And while he had given her that, he wasn't sure if Amara was ready to face the woman who had abandoned her. His thoughts were interrupted by a gentle knock on the door. When he looked up, Amara stood there, her expression calm but unreadable. He straightened. Amara, my child, come in. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then, in a quiet voice, she asked, Papa, where is she now? Dr. Kelechi exhaled. He knew exactly who she meant. She left after I told her you would have to decide for yourself if you wanted to see her. Amara looked down at her hands. Did she seem different? He studied her face. Yes, she was filled with regret, but regret cannot erase the past. Amara nodded slowly. I want to see her. Dr. Kelechi's heart clenched, but he kept his voice steady. Are you sure, Amara? Yes, Papa. She met his gaze. I have to hear her story from her own lips. He hesitated, then nodded. All right, I will find her. It took 2 days for Dr. Kelechi to locate Adako. She had been staying in a small guest house on the outskirts of town, too ashamed to return home but unwilling to leave without knowing if Amara would see her. Then she heard a knock on the door. Her heart pounded. She opened it hesitantly, only to find Dr. Kelechi standing there. Come with me, he said simply. Adako swallowed hard. She wants to see me? Yes. Tears welled in her eyes. Without another word, she followed him. The journey to the house felt like an eternity. When they arrived, Chinwe was waiting at the door, her expression unreadable. She's inside, Chinwe said, stepping aside. Adako entered slowly. Her hands trembled as she walked into the sitting room. And then she saw her. Amara stood by the window, dressed in a simple white gown, the sunlight casting a soft glow on her. Her dark brown eyes, once shrouded in darkness, now studied Adako with quiet intensity. Adako fell to her knees. My child. Her voice broke. I never thought I would see you again. Amara remained still. Why did you abandon me? Tears peeled down Adako's cheeks. I was weak. I was afraid. The village called you a cursed child, and I let my fear decide your fate. She sobbed, and have lived every day since then regretting it. Amara's fingers tightened at her sides. Do you know what it's like to grow up wondering why your own mother didn't want you? To only hear stories about how you were found, never knowing why you were left behind? Adako bowed her head. I do now, and it is the worst kind of pain. Silence stretched between them. Then Amara took a slow step forward. I forgave you the moment I saw you, she whispered, because holding on to anger will only make me the same as those who once judged you. Adako gasped softly. You forgive me? Amara nodded. But forgiveness does not erase the past. You will never be my mother in the way Mama Chinwe is. She is the one who held me when I was sick. She taught me to play music. She stayed by my side when I was blind. Her voice was firm. That is the love of a mother. Adako lowered her head, accepting the truth of Amara's words. I do not ask to replace her, she whispered. Only to know you, to see you live the life I was too blind to fight for. Amara studied her, then after a moment, gave a small nod. We will see where time takes us. It wasn't a promise, but it was something. Adako wiped her eyes and whispered, Thank you. Dr. Kelechi, who had been standing in the doorway, exhaled deeply. Chinwe beside him squeezed his hand. Their daughter had chosen kindness over pain, and that was enough. The days that followed were quiet but healing. Adako did not try to force a relationship with Amara, but she was there when Amara wanted to talk. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they simply sat in silence, letting the past settle between them. One evening, Amara played her flute by the fire, the sweet melody drifting through the air. Adako listened with tears in her eyes. I never thought I would live to hear something so beautiful. Amara smiled faintly. Neither did I. Dr. Kelechi and Chinwe sat together, watching their daughter with pride. No matter what the past held, the future was hers to shape. And in that moment, under the golden glow of the fire, Amara finally felt whole. Dear viewers, this story teaches us about forgiveness, love, and the strength to rise above the past. What lesson did you take away from this story? Let me know down in the comment section. And please do not also forget to subscribe to this channel so you'll be notified. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Turn your post notification button so you'll be notified every time I post any video. Click on the like button to give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends and your family. Thank you so much. Bye for now, and I will see you in my next video.